And then it says, with him we live, move, and we exist. We exist. We exist. We exist. Now, this word existence, it means to live, to exist with or without limits. We can exist with limits. We can exist without limits. Now, we as human beings, and the apostle has been sharing some of this here lately. We as human beings, we live in chronological time, chronos. We live in chronological time, and so when we're living in chronos or chronological time, there are limits. When we're living in chronological time, there are limits. But then there's another time, eons. There's another time that there's an eternal existence. And when we're dwelling or existing in something that is eternal, there are no limits. No limits in the eternal existence. And so when Paul is saying in him we live, move, and exist, what he is saying here, we have an existence here in time, but we also have an existence in eternity, and we have to tap in, and the only way we can tap in is through God, because it is in him that we live, in him that we move. Listen, if it weren't for God, you wouldn't wake up. We didn't make ourselves wake up. We didn't make ourselves wake up. God is the one who wakes us up every single day. Where would you be? Where would you be without God? We are totally dependent, whether we realize it or not. We are totally dependent on God. But what I want to share with you is something that stuck out to me in verse 27. In verse 27, something stuck out to me when I was reading. When Paul was talking about who God is and how he made man and everything in the earth and determined times and boundaries, verse 27 says that they would seek God. It first talks about he overlooked our ignorance. Talks about that in verse 30, but leading up to that in verse 27, he says that they would seek God. God has a way of orchestrating our lives and pointing us in directions with the hope that we would seek him. It says that they would seek God if perhaps, because the Greeks, they were seeking something, but they weren't sure on what they were seeking. But God was trying to let everybody know that in all your seeking, who you need to seek is me. And so God orchestrated everything in our lives. It says, if perhaps they might grope for him. You ever been in a room, or can you imagine being in a room completely black? No lights, no way to see anything in the room. There is a door, one door, and you're standing in the middle of the room and you're trying to find the exit. You're trying to find, how do I get out of this place when there's no lights, no way to see? So then you start groping. You start groping. You start up against the wall and you can't see. You're just trying to feel. I think there's something. I think there's a way out, but I'm not sure where it is. So I gotta feel my way. God, the Greeks, they weren't sure, but what God was trying to get them to do was to start feeling. You're not sure about my existence, but if you would just reach. Because when you're groping and you're reaching, God is looking for somebody who wants to know who he is, who's willing to reach. You can't see me, but you have a sense that there's a place that you need to get to. You can't see me, so what you have to do, even though you can't see me, you just need to trust and reach. And you just reach and you just reach and you're touching, you're feeling, because God wants us to feel who he is and not be dependent on seeing who he is. We can't always see what God is doing. We can't even see God with our natural eye. So God wants us to get to a place where though you can't see me, the evidence of me is all around. All around. The Bible says in Romans, it says that God, his divine nature, his invisible attributes, his eternal power is made known by the things that are seen, so that men are without excuse. When you see clouds and sun and stars and oceans and mountains and people, when you see all of that, that is proof that there is a God that made the universe.
Thank you for watching this snippet of our recent service. To enjoy the full message, click the link in the description. God bless, and thank you for watching.